You notice it before anyone else does. The room is already moving, voices overlapping, laughter landing where it is supposed to. Someone tells a story and everyone leans in at the right moment. You are there. You are listening. You are present. But something feels slightly off. Not wrong, just misaligned. You feel the pause before you speak. The half second where you check the room before your voice leaves your chest. You are not searching for attention. You are searching for the right opening. Someone else fills the space before you do. They always do. People glance at you, not directly, just enough to register that you are quiet. Someone asks if you are okay. Someone jokes that you are just shy. Someone assumes you are bored. You smile, because explaining would take more energy than it is worth. Inside, you are not empty. You are not frozen. You are not disconnected. You are aware. You notice how loud the room is, how fast conversations move, how little space there is between one sentence and the next. You feel everything at once. And because of that, you choose carefully. Others seem comfortable jumping in. You wait. Not because you have nothing to say, but because saying it means entering something that already feels crowded. The strange part is this. No one asks how it feels from the inside. They only see the stillness. They never see the restraint. And in moments like this, a quiet thought passes through you. Maybe you are different. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that needs fixing, just different enough that the room notices, and different enough that you start to wonder why this difference exists at all. Because it does not feel random, and it does not feel accidental. It feels like something deeper is at work.
There is an assumption that follows you into social spaces. It is never said directly, but you feel it. If you hesitate before speaking, people assume fear. If you stay quiet, they assume insecurity. If you observe instead of jumping in, they assume something is missing. As if comfort is proven by volume. As if ease looks the same in every body. You have felt that pressure. The subtle suggestion that you should push yourself more. Open up faster. Relax already. And for a long time, you may have wondered if they were right. But here is the truth that rarely gets named. Nothing in you is malfunctioning. Your mind simply works differently. You do not enter social situations to perform. You enter them to sense. You notice tone before words, energy before meaning, shifts before explanations. Your nervous system does not rush. It scans. While others speak to feel connected, you wait to feel safe enough to enter. That waiting is not a defect. It is regulation. Some people warm up by talking. You warm up by orienting. You are not avoiding people. You are calibrating. You are reading the room in a way that happens beneath language. You feel when the pace is too fast, when the attention is scattered, when the space does not yet allow you to be yourself. And instead of forcing entry, your system pauses. From the outside, that pause gets labeled shy, reserved, quiet. But inside, something else is happening. You are conserving energy. You are choosing when to engage. You are protecting clarity. You have probably noticed this difference most clearly when you are with the right people. The ones who do not rush you, who leave space between sentences, who do not demand instant response. Around them, you speak more. Not because you changed, but because your system did not need to brace. That tells you something important. The issue was never you. It was the environment asking something your nervous system does not offer on demand. You were taught to believe that ease looks loud, that confidence looks fast, that comfort means immediate participation. But your comfort arrives differently. It arrives when the noise settles, when the pace slows, when the pressure to perform disappears. And once that happens, you do not struggle to connect. You connect deeply. This is not a flaw in your personality. It is an alignment issue between how you are wired and how social spaces are usually structured. And when you see it that way, something shifts quietly inside you. You stop asking what is wrong with you, and you begin to sense that your way of being has always made sense.
What you experience is not hesitation. It is depth meeting speed. Beneath the quiet, something precise is happening. Your nervous system does not move toward stimulation automatically. It checks first. Is this space safe? Is this pace manageable? Is there room to enter without losing yourself? While others are already talking, your awareness is still gathering information. You notice who is dominating the conversation, who interrupts, who listens, who does not. You feel the emotional temperature of the room before you choose where to stand inside it. This is not overthinking. It is orientation. Your system is designed to regulate before it expresses. Some nervous systems discharge energy by speaking. Yours contains it until conditions feel right. That containment is often mistaken for fear. But fear has urgency. What you feel is precision. You do not rush because rushing costs you more. When a room is loud, fast, or unpredictable, your body works harder. Not emotionally dramatic, physiologically. Your heart rate adjusts. Your breath becomes shallow. Your attention spreads outward. You are tracking more than most people realize. This is why social situations can feel tiring even when nothing bad happens. You are not just present, you are monitoring. You notice shifts in tone mid-sentence. You sense tension before it surfaces. You feel when humor is covering something sharper underneath. Your awareness is wide. And wide awareness comes with a cost. Over time, your system learned something simple. Entering too quickly means overstimulation. Staying too long means depletion. So it adapted, not by withdrawing, but by slowing entry. This pattern did not form overnight. It formed quietly, through repetition. Moments where you spoke too early and felt exposed. Moments where you matched the room's energy and paid for it later. Moments where being on left you drained without knowing why. Your body noticed before your mind did, and bodies are efficient learners. They keep what works, they release what does not. You learned that restraint preserved you, that observation kept you regulated, that choosing your moments protected your sense of self. This is why you often feel more at ease one-on-one, or in smaller groups, or in conversations that allow pauses. It is not because you lack social ability. It is because your nervous system thrives in depth, not density. Where others feel alive in stimulation, you feel alive in clarity. Where others gain energy from momentum, you gain it from coherence. This difference is subtle but profound. It shapes how you listen, how you speak, how you connect. You do not throw your voice into a room to see if it lands. You wait until it can be held. And when you do speak, it is often deliberate, measured, true. People sometimes notice this later. They say things like, "You always say the most thoughtful things," or, "I did not realize you were paying so much attention." You were always paying attention. You just were not announcing it.
This is the part that rarely gets acknowledged. Your quiet is not absence. It is compression. Meaning is forming beneath the surface. And because it takes time, your system resists environments that demand instant output. That resistance is not avoidance. It is integrity. You do not want to speak just to be seen. You want to speak when it feels aligned. This is why forcing yourself to be more outgoing often backfires. It asks your nervous system to abandon its strengths, to move faster than it can regulate, to trade awareness for appearance. And your body pushes back. Not loudly, not dramatically. Through fatigue, through tension, through a quiet sense that something is off. Understanding this changes how you see yourself. You are not shy because you lack confidence. You are selective because your system values safety, meaning, and depth. You do not enter spaces blindly. You enter them with your whole awareness intact. That is not a weakness. It is a different way of being human. And once you see it, you stop trying to override it. You start listening to it. Because this inner mechanism has been protecting you all along, even when no one else could see it. This is where the friction begins. Not loudly, not through conflict, but through small, almost invisible moments. A pause after you do not speak. A look that lingers half a second too long. Someone filling the silence for you. People start forming stories. They assume you are uncomfortable. They assume you are judging them. They assume you do not want to be there. None of those are true, but misunderstandings rarely ask for confirmation. They move quietly. They settle in. You notice how conversations continue without you. Not because you were excluded, but because the pace never slowed enough for you to enter. You notice how your quiet gets translated into distance. How observation gets mistaken for detachment. And the strange part is this: no one is being cruel. No one is trying to push you out. This is simply what happens when your inner rhythm does not match the room's expectations. Social spaces often reward immediacy, fast responses, quick humor, visible reactions. And when you do not mirror that, people search for an explanation. They label what they cannot read. You feel this most when someone tries to pull you forward. Say something. You are so quiet. You should talk more. They mean well, but each comment lands like a reminder that your way of being needs justification, that your comfort requires translation. Over time, this creates a subtle distance. Not because you withdrew, but because it is tiring to exist in spaces where your natural pace is constantly misread. You may start leaving earlier, choosing smaller settings, sitting on the edges of rooms instead of the center. Not out of avoidance, out of self-preservation. And yet, even as you protect yourself, a quiet loneliness can appear. Not the loneliness of being alone, the loneliness of being unseen. You are there. You are engaged. You are feeling everything. But what others notice is only what you do not display. This is the cost few people talk about. When your inner world is rich but quiet, it can go unrecognized. And when it goes unrecognized often enough, you begin to question whether it belongs. But here is the important shift. The distance you feel is not proof that you are disconnected. It is proof that social systems are built around a narrow definition of participation, and your way of participating does not announce itself. Once you understand that, something softens. You stop internalizing the misreadings. You stop carrying the weight of other people's assumptions. You realize that the space between you and others was never created by a lack in you. It was created by a mismatch in visibility.
And that clarity brings a quiet relief. Because it means you were never failing at connection. You were simply connecting in a way that does not demand attention to be real. This did not appear out of nowhere. You did not wake up one day shy. You did not decide to move carefully through social spaces. Your nervous system learned this over time, often early. You grew up noticing more than you were encouraged to express. You learned to read rooms before entering them, to sense moods before words were spoken. Not because you were afraid, because awareness kept things smoother. Maybe the environment around you was loud, unpredictable, or emotionally dense. Maybe attention came with pressure. Maybe being expressive meant being misunderstood. So your system adapted. You learned that staying observant was safer than being reactive, that pausing before speaking prevented mistakes, that listening first gave you orientation. This was not withdrawal, it was calibration. Your nervous system learned how to stay regulated by slowing things down internally, even when the world moved fast around you. Over time, this became automatic. Your body learned to hold back energy until it felt right. Your mind learned to scan before engaging. Your voice learned to wait for meaning instead of volume. None of this was conscious. It was intelligent adaptation. At some point, being quiet stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like your natural state. Because it worked. It helped you stay clear. It helped you stay grounded. It helped you avoid overwhelm. The problem is not that this pattern formed. The problem is that no one ever explained what it was. So instead of seeing it as intelligence, you were taught to see it as absence. But your nervous system remembers the truth. It remembers that speaking less once protected something important. It remembers that observation once prevented harm. It remembers that pacing yourself kept you intact. And even now, in calmer environments, it continues to operate the way it was trained. Not because it is stuck, but because it is loyal. Loyal to what kept you safe. This is why forcing yourself to be different never feels right. Why pushing past your rhythm feels destabilizing. Why pretending to be louder costs you more than it gives. You are not carrying a flaw
From the past. You are carrying a strategy, one that made sense then, one that still tries to serve you now. Understanding this changes the emotional tone completely. There is no damage to fix, no personality to override, only an adaptation to acknowledge. And when you see it that way, something inside you relaxes. Because you realize your quiet was never a problem to solve. It was a solution your system created long before you had words for it. Once you stop treating this as something to overcome, the tension begins to loosen. Because what you call shyness is not hesitation. It is discernment. You are not avoiding people. You are choosing when to engage. You are not lacking confidence. You are conserving presence. You do not move quickly into social spaces because you want them to mean something, not because you are afraid they will not. This trait is not about fear. It is about alignment. You value depth over noise, clarity over performance, meaning over momentum. Where others fill silence to feel connected, you wait for connection to feel real. You are not rejecting interaction. You are rejecting interaction that asks you to rush past yourself. This is the distinction most people miss. You do not need to be seen constantly to know who you are. You do not need to speak often to be engaged. You do not need to dominate space to belong in it. Your presence carries weight Because it is intentional. And when you do speak, it is usually because something matters, not because silence made you uncomfortable. This is not weakness. It is information. It tells you what environments regulate you, what conversations feel honest, what rhythms support your nervous system. You are not built for constant stimulation. You are built for attunement, for noticing what others rush past, for sensing when something is off, for listening beneath the surface. Once you see this clearly, you stop trying to replace yourself. You stop measuring yourself against louder nervous systems. You stop mistaking restraint for absence. And in that space, something steadies. You begin to feel grounded in who you are, not defensive about who you are not. You realize your quiet was never a barrier to connection. It was simply a different doorway, one that opens slowly, one that opens honestly, one that opens only when it feels right. And that is not something to outgrow. It is something to stand inside with calm certainty. There is a quiet question that stays with you. It shows up after conversations, after gatherings, after moments where you spoke less than expected and felt more than anyone noticed. You wonder if the world would feel easier if you were different, if you spoke faster, if you filled space sooner, if you entered rooms without scanning first. But then you notice something. When you are allowed to move at your own pace, your body settles. When you are not rushed to perform, your thoughts arrive more clearly. When you are not required to be loud to belong, you feel present instead of braced. And that tells you something important. The discomfort was never inside you. It lived in the mismatch between your nervous system and the speed of the room, between your depth and the surface-level expectations placed on it. You were not missing something. You were carrying something different. And maybe the real question is not why you are this way. Maybe it is this. If connection only counted when it was immediate, loud, and obvious, why does the quiet kind stay with you longer? Why does it feel more real when it is chosen slowly? Why does your body relax when nothing is demanded from you? You are not late to life. You are not behind. You are moving at the speed that allows you to remain yourself. And that matters more than most people ever realize. If any of this felt familiar, you do not need to explain it. You can leave a comment with a single word or a quiet recognition, just to be seen. And if you want to keep exploring these inner patterns of the human mind, you can subscribe. Not as a commitment, just as a continuation. We take things slowly here.